Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I want to answer a question that I actually get from people all over the country who see my websites and blogs and videos and so forth, and that is, what happens if I do not reaffirm my mortgage? I go into Chapter 7, I do not reaffirm the mortgage, or the mortgage doesn't get reaffirmed. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Well, generally, my experience has been, as long as you keep making those payments, the mortgage lenders would much rather have your money than have another house in inventory. So, as a rule, as long as you're current at the time you file Chapter 7 or substantially current, you can continue making payments on that mortgage, stay in your house as if nothing ever happened, and move on down the road and stay in that house for years and make payments for the next 15, 20 years. The downside to that is if you don't reaffirm, and what I mean reaffirm is that you say, not only is there a security interest there, but I'm going to personally re-sign a promissory note, so I'm personally liable again. Because when you file bankruptcy, Chapter 7, that personal liability disappears unless you do reaffirm. So if you reaffirm, then what's going to happen is it's going to benefit your credit. All those payments you make are going to show up as payments made on your credit report. It's going to help you reestablish your credit. If you do not reaffirm, you could make the next 10 years of payments, you're not going to get benefit on your credit. And the call I get from people is, I've been making payments for 4 or 5 years, I want to refinance, and I go to refinance and the lender says, hey, you haven't been, there's no record you're making any payments at all. And the borrower says, well, I've got canceled checks. And the lender says, I don't care. It's not showing up in your credit report. So if you do not reaffirm, it's not going to show up in your credit report. So that's really one reason why, some people say you should reaffirm to help your credit. Other people say if you can stay in a house and continue making payments and don't reaffirm, it's worth the issue with your credit report. That's a judgment call, but you want to go into it with your eyes open. Now, here's another situation that does pop up sometimes, and there's not a lot you can really do about this, but this is what I see happen, and that is that the attorney will go ahead and request a reaffirmation agreement. Realize the reaffirmation agreement has to come from the lender. So the mortgage company in this case has got to provide the reaffirmation documentation. It's about a 10-page document to reaffirm. The mortgage lender either doesn't send it to the lawyer, or they send it to the lawyer fills it out, has the client sign it, sends it back, and the lender does not file it in court. So the reaffirmation agreement does not get filed in court for whatever reason. Either the lender was late, the lawyer was late, the lawyer sent it back, the lender didn't act on it. Whatever reason, it was not formally reaffirmed. You're out of luck. In that situation, there's nothing you can do to force the lender to file that reaffirmation agreement, and that means that all those payments you make down the road, it's not going to help your credit. And people are really unhappy. They say, I signed the reaffirmation agreement, gave it to my lawyer says he sent it back, the lender didn't file it in court in time. Not much you can do. The only thing, what I try to do is I have that reaffirmation conversation really early on, so that if I know my client wants to reaffirm, we're on it real quick. We get on the phone, call the lender, write the lender, fax the lender, get us a reaffirmation agreement quickly. We get it signed, before the 341 meeting of creditors hearing, get it back and follow up. Okay, have you filed this? What's the story? Try to get a person's name to follow up on it. If you wait until month 4 in a 5-month Chapter 7 case to request a reaffirmation agreement, it's probably not going to get done in time. It doesn't really benefit the lender. The lender doesn't, they're not making money on this usually. They get the payments either way. They don't really care about your credit. So if you wait too late to start the process, it may not happen. So, I have this conversation early. I get my clients to commit to reaffirming if they're going to do it. We get it sent in and we get it processed early on, and I confirm I confirm that it's actually been filed and part of the record. And by the way, if you do file a reaffirmation agreement and change your mind, you can reject it. You can undo it. I think it's 60 days from the time you sign it or before the case is discharged, whatever comes later. So you can undo a reaffirmation agreement if you change your mind. So I'd rather get one on file, and we can always undo it. Again, there's risk. Obviously, if you sign a reaffirmation agreement and it goes into place, becomes permanent after that 60-day period, then you're stuck with it. But if you know you want to keep your house, then by all means, let's go ahead and get the reaffirmation done. Now, I will tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, there is a real debate amongst bankruptcy lawyers. Some lawyers I know, people I respect, think you should never reaffirm a mortgage debt. Others think that the benefit to your credit is worth doing. So if you're in my office, we'll talk about the pros and the cons, and I'll give you some things to read about why you should and why you shouldn't. But that's kind of the big picture about what happens if you do not reaffirm a mortgage, what happens if you do, the impact to your credit, and the debate going on in the bankruptcy community. My name is Jonathan Ginsberg. I hope this has been helpful. Any questions, please let me know. Thanks a lot.